Yeah. Yeah, you know what it is. 140 for the rapper, busy man, shit, nigga. They take their head over, nigga. I read what Eve did to Adam, I just pray my love don't lie to me. Swing the iron like Samson, I can't let no holder lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Circle up and stay alert. Another cop can stretch the nigga. He ain't demon, it's an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gonna get active with you. From the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spit and I ain't listening. Is in fact the If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jacob. Side war, we gonna run the summer. It's gonna be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but their question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get them crackers hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't be do that. Bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young baby. How you real triggering on them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? What he saying something, I ain't hear. This shit light. It ain't about who got the gun, it's about who gon' up that fight first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chains. 6 shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that feeds you, you'll never get that hand back. He bitching about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody wanna be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. A certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I with that hollow sign, yeah, this the rim accord. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my bread, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get that boy lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his gang, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
Killed. Give me Isaiah 14 and 21. They did the same thing to my people. So that you said that they put millions of my houses. Should a murderer go to jail for murdering? Absolutely. Should a thief go to jail when he steals? Absolutely. Should a robber pay back the money he robbed? Absolutely. So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did? That's right.
One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just obstacle set in the road, that a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never a home. Only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe this slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. The fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles and make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage and safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom, we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now.
One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog.
No remorse in my blood, Slim. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in his body, you fit the Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is served cold, I just hope they making oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in a world of mad shooters. There was design five for our babies to pass through in the day of our king's reign. I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new parabellums.
Someday you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
One thing I got in this lifestyle, that's my boss, bitch, and my wordplay. Hey, when I get mad, turn the Scarface. How when I get mad, turn the Sharface. Yeah, fuck. Hey, tell me how it is, tell me how you feel, tell me what it is, tell me what you wanna do. Put sad boy plotting on who? I done seen it all before I came through. Must don't understand, nigga, I'm in the truth, lame ass nigga. But they cracker trying to shoot shit my way. 100 down rides on the highway. Only thing I got in this lifestyle, that's my boss, bitch, and my wordplay. Hey, when I get mad, turn the Scarface. Now when I get mad, turn the Sharface. Yeah, I'm up in South Beach with this shit, nigga, Miami. Fuck on me, nigga. Tell me how it is, tell me how you feel, tell me what it is. I'm always in the field, always dressed to kill, nigga. What the fuck you talking about? But your pussy boy, but you ain't talking about nothing, but you ain't making noise. You ain't on that shit that you thought you was. Who the fuck these niggas thought they was? They don't even know that. Shooting at me and I'm a throwback. I don't look back, that's a throwback. No, I don't look sad cause I'm on that. Boy, get shot at the top, that's a toe tag. Lame ass cracker don't want the guns on me. But these people wanna know everything. But the booze and the chica. I tell these soft ass boys how to think. But I'm on my grind like that hate. Yeah, my nutsack on these fuck niggas when I don't give a fuck. What they be hating on cause I'm up, nigga. What the fuck, nigga? Who the fuck these niggas thought they was? Yeah, all the time a nigga growing. All the time a nigga knowing. Gotta stack it up, keep that bitch flowing. Hey. Tell me how it is, tell me how you feel, tell me what it is. Gotta flip the deal, gotta keep the steal, killer being killed. Nah, nigga, for real, I'm ready for the real. Nigga, I'm ready for the war, nigga. But they crack trying to shoot shit my way. 100 down rounds on the highway. Only thing I got in this lifestyle, that's my boss, bitch, and my wordplay. Hey, when I get mad, turn the Scarface. Now when I get mad, turn the Scarface. They up here with the scene, nigga, with the Colombians, cutting niggas' heads off and shit. Tell me how it is, tell me how you feel. Always just a kid, shoot 'em up the hill. Gotta keep it still, nah, nigga, for real. Hey, the boy, I think they talking about. Why X out your rank, walking on your sand. On the highway, chasing after bands. Boy, wanna hate, they don't understand. Boy, wanna hate, soft two cans. Sam, man, nigga. I told you for that nigga don't know it. Yeah, chasing after one, I love that shit. Cause the thrill of the hunt keep me on my shit. Yeah, the deck on my hip with a stand-up club. Yeah, motherfucker, we'll kill your ass. We'll motherfucking dissect your ass. Cut a head off, put a body for the buzzers. Matter of fact, fuck them buzzers, nigga. You know we head hunters. Hey, call nigga Sharface, nigga. What the fuck you talking about? Yeah.
All right. Shalom, Lord in Christ. This is the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge under Commanding General Yohana, started in 1969. And we are called to teach the so-called Black, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans that we are the children of Israel, and also that we should come back to the Lord's laws, his statutes and commandments. And today is our class, which is scripture breakdown. And if anybody can tell me when is Easter, because after a while I start to forget about the holidays that are kind of like man-made. So when is Easter? April 20th. Okay, so this is where are we in now? Damn, Easter's going to be, so we're in March 17th, and Easter is in April 20th. All right, so Easter is coming up. And just a quick breakdown of what Easter is. Easter is the Christian version of, I guess, celebrating the death of the Lord. And when I say Lord, they actually believe that Christ came down and was God at first, but he came in the form of a man. He died for our sins. And for lack of a better statement, that he died so we could sin. That's pretty much so we wouldn't be judged for our sins and we can continue in our sin. That's what Christians believe. But here in ISUBK, we know the truth. So we actually read the scriptures. We know what's going on. And we know that instead of celebrating Easter, which is, the celebration of Ishtar, we celebrate the Passover. And Ishtar, which is what, the goddess of fertility. If I can kind of rack my brain, because I'll teach a class on it later and brush up on it. But pretty much the god of fertility is Ishtar, hence the name Easter. And you'll notice eggs, which represent fertility, bunnies, bunny rabbits, which represent fertility, and they put those together because rabbits don't lay eggs. So one, with critical thinking would say to themselves, well, on Easter, why do they have Easter eggs and Easter bunnies? Because those two things don't mix. How could it be an Easter bunny's egg? But it's because of fertility. That's the way they're going about it. Because what happens that you'll notice is the Romans input a lot of what they believe into their philosophy with the scriptures. And then we read the Bible or don't read the Bible, and we take it at face value, whatever, the church says. Mm-hmm. But one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is the Last Supper. And there were questions that I started to have once I read the Bible. And then once I started reading more and more, I had questions for Christians. So a question, and if anybody can get in a mind frame of where they were before they started learning the truth, without looking it up, the Last Supper, where did that come from? Like, when you're taking communion, the Last Supper, like where does that tradition come from? Why do we do the last or communion? Like, what is that about? Because I'll tell you guys after you tell me what I actually thought. And Ace, if you can grab this mic right here, young man, Ace.
You're saying like what part of the Bible it comes out of?
No, like the tradition. Right. So, but communion, because communion is tied to the Last Supper. And when I was a Christian, I had no idea where I would find that in the Bible. And then put that mic on your mother's table.
Do this in remembrance of me.
That mic. It's up here, son. And be careful. Yeah, right. So it says, do this and remember me. And a lot of traditions that we have in the Christian church are like I said, it comes from the Romans. Right. A lot of stuff comes from like Greek mythology, because the Roman Catholic Church, that institution comes from the actual Romans, from the children of Edom. It's something that's passed down. It's something that was ingrained in us during our captivities. It's something that they've had a stronghold on for a long time. And misinterpretations and them inputting communion even in the Last Supper, because I had no idea. So if anybody want to answer, because I'll say where I thought it came from. I thought it simply was something that we did and decided, because, all right, so when Christ was having the Last Supper, I thought that was something that he did of his own, right? I thought Christ decided to have a Last Supper. Like, yo, this is the last time I'll be with my friends. Let me get some bread. Let me get some wine, and let me break it up and do this so they can remember me, right? That's what we thought, right? All right. So I'm going to go into it and we're going to break it down, about the Last Supper. All right. So this is, let me see. I'm going to go to Matthew 26 and 28. All right. So this is the book of Matthew. Oh, matter of fact, Salakia Kosh, could you read Matthew 26 and 28? Or when you get there, I'll read this. And if you can hold Matthew 26 and 2 for me.
I'm at 28.
You sure?
Right here.
All right. No sweat.
I just got to pull the screen.
All right. No sweat. So, I mean, at this point, we should be real, right? If you're going to follow something, you should be real. At this point in our lives, and I'm speaking to, Christians, I'm speaking to Muslims, I'm speaking to Buddhists, I'm speaking to, other Israelite groups. If you're in something and you don't fully understand it and you can't get a full answer from the leader of your institution, you should have enough maturity to question it, right?
Right.
Well, I bring this up a lot. When we're in school, we are given the answers and then we have to remember and put them on tests. We don't really find the answers, right?
Right.
We don't really investigate. We don't really, critical think. We don't break things down and have the ability to, dissect things at a level to where we could even explain it. We just know that's the answer. But at the end of the day, that's the reason why we have a lack of knowledge. Like, before we go into, I just want to say, because of how we've become such sheep of prey, if the water system breaks down, where do you get water from? How do you know how to get clean water? And this is just a carnal thing that I'm going to bring up of how, detached we are from knowing how to do things without a system of somebody making us pay for something. Now, I'm just posing these questions because my son is raising his hand in the back and he's going to make up some contraption in his mind on how we will get water. But how do you know what water's clean and what's not? Like, if it hasn't rained in a while, because some people will say, I'll just collect the rainwater, which is, in some situations is illegal without a, permission from your city or state or, some type of federal ordinance that you have to follow. How do you know what clean water you can drink? Does anybody know how to skin a deer if the food system stops? What's that called? The food system?
Food system?
Yeah, where the delivery system for the food. It's called like the chain. Yes, the supply chain. Thank you. If the supply chain breaks down, how do you get food? We don't grow our own food. There's a lot of things we don't do. So I'm going to go ahead. I just wanted to pose those questions because we've become to rely on a system that is eventually going to fail. And we've also listened to a theology, whatever you are. It doesn't matter what you are. You can be a Christian. You can be in a fake Israelite group. You can be a Muslim, a Buddhist. There is a fake philosophy and a fake theology that doesn't give you what you need to survive when it comes to food, when it comes to water, when it comes to anything. Because there's brothers and sisters that know how to do everything I've said. They know how to skin a deer. They know how to find clean water. They know how to, they know how to plant food. But a majority of us don't. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans don't have a system to where the general populace of us can get with those individuals and learn. Because if something hits right now, a lot of us are screwed because we don't work together. We're relying on the system. But I'm going to go ahead and start the lesson, and we'll get into the examples of everything. So we're talking about the Last Supper. That's food, the supply chain, and all that came to mind. So let's go ahead and read the book of Matthew 26, 26 through 28.
All right, Khan, Matthew chapter 26 and 28. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins.
Salakia. Let me see. All right, you got Matthew 26, verse 26 and 28.
Matthew. Okay, you want me to start at 26?
Yeah, if you could.
Khan, Matthew 26 and 26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples.
So this is where comes into play communion. And I had no idea where communion came from. Continue.
And gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it.
So this is wine. This isn't juice. This is actual wine. So for those of you who have an issue, and this is a sidebar, with drinking wine, you'd have to take it up with Christ and the disciples, because that's what they actually did. A lot of people have issue with things that have nothing to do with anything. Like if there's a debate going on, or if there's a class going on, or if there's, a show going on and people are breaking down the scriptures, people have an issue with people drinking. But in the scriptures, it says he gave them the drink and told them to drink. At a wedding, Christ gave them the wine that he made. So if you have an issue with that, I'm not going to say what I want to say, but if you have an issue with that, maybe you should read deeper into the scriptures and understand that everything you've learned is just a bunch of nothing. Whatever you're at, wherever you're at, like I said, Christian, Buddhist, other Israelite groups, there's a lot that you don't know that leads you into a path of destruction. Continue.
Khan, verse 28. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins.
All right. So for the remission of sins, so sins stop. So the sins can stop. So when I was in the church, I thought the communion was something that Christ created on his own. I thought that this was outside of anything that had ever been done before. And this was something new Christ started. And then we were supposed to do it. But let's start at Matthew 26 and verse 2. Because this is going to tell you what communion is and why they were having a Last Supper in the first place.
Khan. This is Matthew 26 and verse 2. Ye know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified.
So where's the Last Supper coming from? Why are they actually having the Last Supper? It answers it right there.
Because the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified.
Before that,
it's the feast of the Passover.
That little piece of bread, that wafer, and that nasty, the wafer's nasty. The grape juice was good when I was a kid. That's all I know. But the Passover is the reason why they were having the Last Supper. That's the reason why. This isn't something that Christ came and did on his own. They were having the Passover.
Right.
Ye know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is to be crucified. Continue.
Verse 3. Then assembled together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas. There it is, Caiaphas. And consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and kill him.
So they're conspiring against Christ, but the plan that they had is not going to go into play because that's not the way it was supposed to be. So we're breaking down the fact the reason why people are even doing communion, if you're doing communion, you're doing it wrongfully. Right. Because you don't take something that Christ said and did at the Passover and then turn it into another tradition. That's the traditions of men.
Exactly.
What's that scripture? Because I'll get it for you real quick. The traditions of men. And while you get that, you can read 3 over one more time and continue.
Khan, verse 3. Then answered together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and unalive him. But they said, not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people.
All right. So let me go to and Kaash, I won't have you go to it. I'll just go ahead and read it real quick so we can continue with the verses. This is the book of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 7. It says, howbeit in vain do they worship me. So they're worshiping Christ and God in a way that has nothing to do with what was set forth by our forefathers, what was set forth by Christ, by the Most High. And they're creating something that they have a misunderstanding about. And I believe some people knew exactly what it was for, because growing up, I just thought the communion was something apart from anything else in the Bible. I had no idea it had something to do with the Passover. And if you ask other people who are Christians, I asked my mother a couple years ago, because my father, he already knew what it was. He just thought that we just didn't do the Passover anymore because things like that were over, but he knew what it originated from. But when I asked my mother, she had no idea where it came from. And he was kind of surprised at that, but I wasn't, because that's the mindset that we're in. Right. A lot of people in church aren't actually reading the Bible. My mom, she went to church. She didn't really read the Bible that much. And I understand why, because when we read the scriptures, not only are some things hard to be understood, but a lot of stuff we don't feel like it pertains to us. Like a lot of the stories about the Israelites, the Canaanites, the Jebusites, all these ites, it was dry at first. I had no idea that the one people, the Israelites, were blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, according to the scriptures. And then the other people were our enemies. And if I had known that and been able to put that together, things like the Passover when I was a Christian would have been way more important, because there's a lot of key things and messages that you actually get from it. And the Most High wanted us to remember it. Did you want the mic, sis? Ace can get it for you.
It's kind of random, but I remember reading the Bible all the way through at this church group that I went to. And I remember reading it and realizing that God had a favorite people and feeling like I wasn't the favorite person. So I disregarded the Bible for many years. And I was literally the first person to be like, that's a white man's book. I don't read that, because I had considered the Jewish people those favorite people. So I read it many times through and just thought it doesn't apply to me. So it was amazing to find out that we were those people.
Most High Christ.
Yeah.
Yep. Because if I had actually read it without any understanding, that probably would have bothered me. I probably would have thought, well, if he has a favorite people, why am I not one of God's favorite people? Because it's going to give you it's going to add on to the complex we already have in the United States or Great Britain or any other of the other places where we're second, third, and fourth class citizens. Because here you have to be reminded of it every day by the conditions that we're in and how we're treated. And then you read it in a book that's supposed to be the most holiest of holy things. And then you see like, damn, I'm not even a favorite in the book. And then you have people inserting stuff calling us, what do they say? We were cursed because we were the children of like Ham.
I think that's the Mormons.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would hear things like that. Go ahead, sis.
I just remember also hearing in church, don't be like the Israelites. Like you hear that a lot. There was like, don't be like those Israelites.
Right.
They saw him, they experienced all this stuff, and they still were stiff-necked. So there was even a separation in the context of how it was being taught. Right.
That's a heavy point right there as well, because there was a point where they made so many mistakes, and then they would make comments like, the Jews crucified Christ. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at it, you kind of look at them like, yo, they were terrible, this, that, and the fourth. All of the Jews did not. All of the Jews did not. And the people that dealt the final blow were actually Edomites. But when you actually read the scriptures, you start to realize not only are we the chosen people of the book, but what Christ and the Most High, or what the Most High laid down for us to follow, are things that are supposed to be followed forever. So I'm going to read Mark 7:7 one more time and then read all the way through, and then we can get back to Matthew. This is the book of Mark, chapter 7, verse 7. It says, howbeit, in vain do they worship me. Talking about his people. It says, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Exactly. Taking communion with that wafer is something that comes from the commandments of men. It's so terrible how many things that we've traded down for and accepted what the heathens have versus what God had for us. Like the Passover lamb is not supposed to be some, decadent meal. It's not supposed to be something that is, extravagant. It's not supposed to be Ruth Chris. It's not supposed to be a steakhouse. But at the end of the day, it's a lot better than some plastic looking, tasting wafer and juice. Right. It's actual lamb and wine and unleavened bread. So it's actually like we traded and took communion over the actual Passover. We traded being second-class citizens in the world of Christianity over being the rulers of the world. And we need to take everything back and understand these scriptures. And that's why in ISUPK, we're going to break down these scriptures and we're going to do what's right and get our people back to where we need to be. Because eventually, like I said, the system is going to absolutely fail us. Mm-hmm. All right. So where were we? We left off at verse 3.
I read the verse 4.
Verse 4. Let me see. All right. We'll continue from verse 4.
All right. Verse 4. Matthew 26 and verse 4. And consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and kill him. But they said, not on a feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people. Now, when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box.
And Salaki, I'm sorry. We can skip down to 14. I had it marked a little different in my notes. We can skip down to 14.
Come on. Verse 14. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests and said unto them, what will ye give me? And I will deliver him unto you.
So this is Judas about to betray Christ. So we still on the Last Supper. We still, setting this up because this is actually marking what is actually happening. So we know this is the Passover. We know the Passover is coming. And that's the reason why Christ is having this Last Supper. He's meeting and he's getting everything together. Continue.
And they covenanted him and they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. And from that time, he sought opportunity to betray him.
So this is talking about Judas betraying Christ. And a lot of individuals think that they would never be Judas. A lot of people believe that, they would follow Christ. They would do this, that, and the fourth. But if you look at the way we're living currently, we are, in a sense, if we're not following what Christ said and the Most High said, we are just like Judas. We're betraying Christ because Christ already died and we're still not doing the things that he said.
Exactly.
If Christ kept the Passover feast, then why aren't we keeping the Passover feast? If Christ died for the remissions of sins, like the previous verse said, why aren't we making sure we no longer sin? Instead, we're taking some small, token, because that's all that communion is. It's like a small token. We take some small token that means nothing. And by token, let's use this as an example. Black people, we talk about how much we want to be free, right? Right. And then this is what the devil did. The devil killed one of the people who were supposedly Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, symbols of our freedom, and then honored them later with a statue. So they gave us a token of freedom. Exactly. They gave us a token with different streets like Martin Luther King Boulevard. And when you look at the different tokens, they mean nothing. Every Martin Luther King Boulevard that I come across is just drug ridden and poverty stricken, right? They're just tokens. The token of communion, it means nothing. To sit in church every day, or Salakia, every Sunday. And what is communion? Every first Sunday? To sit in church every first Sunday, and that's all people do. They make, well, you know what, we take communion. Let me take communion, and I'll make it to church this time. You were just in the world whoring that Saturday and the Friday before, but now you're in church going, you know what? Well, at least I made it to church. If I didn't make it to church, I'd feel guilty. But the 2-3 women that the brother slept with and threw away, that didn't matter. The 2-3 men that the woman slept with, that didn't matter. The different things that the people are doing in the world that's contrary to what Christ died for, they do these things, and then they take communion, which is just a token. Where are we at again? Let's go to verse 17, because I believe that's where we're at, right?
Khan. Matthew 26 and 17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, where wilt thou we prepare for thee to eat the Passover?
So if you notice, the feast of unleavened bread, the first day of the feast of unleavened bread and the Passover, that's the same thing. We know that, right?
Right.
So that is another hit on when it comes to, doing communion. Mind you, the Passover is at an appointed time. It's at an appointed month. And doing it every Sunday, every first Sunday, is a mockery. And like I said, a token. But let's continue. You had a question, sis? Or a statement?
A statement.
Go ahead, sis.
It almost it almost become like it. I remember when we had to do communion, and people would, they would hold the cup and then they would pray over it and say, as you're taking it, it's going to do all of these things to you, which would give the people the false hope that it's cleansing them from whatever issues they were, battling with for the month.
Right.
And then you had those people that wouldn't go to church except for that first Sunday, just so that they can have all of their sins forgiven by drinking that cup.
That's crazy. And that, when we think of doing things like that, it's almost like we believe that those small tokens can cover everything that we've done, and they really can't. A statue can't give us our freedom. Martin Luther King, Boulevard can't give us our freedom. Malcolm X, the different books that they've read, this, that, and the fourth, none of that stuff can give Black people their freedom. Right. Just like drinking grape juice, because you're not in the Christian church, you're not drinking real wine. That's not happening. Like, drinking is frowned upon. Like, that's something that is literally looked down on. When in the scriptures it says, what does it say? Wine maketh a man glad of heart. So it's something like that, right? Right. In the scriptures, it also says that you can have strong drink. It uses the term whatever your heart lusteth after, because there's the good and the bad. It says don't be a drunkard. It doesn't say don't drink. But when we listen to different things in the scriptures, or from the pastor, and we don't actually get an understanding of what's actually supposed to be happening in the world, we end up in a time to where Black people are just completely confused and have different, methods on how they're going to, live their existence in this world. And one of the things that I keep seeing, the pastors have pretty much run a lot of Black people out of church. Yep. Because a lot of people run to people like Brother Polite, which is a convicted, pedophile. You have, what's the other guy's name who had all those wives? And Nature Boy, ain't that his name? Nature Boy, another pedophile who was letting his own young child play with his, member. Right. Damn. Yeah. What? He said it out of his own mouth. I saw him say it. He literally said he walks around the house, naked, And if his son walks past and grabs his thing, it doesn't matter because it's okay to be naked, that people shouldn't be ashamed. And then he tried to come back later. And I didn't see his apology or the cleanup for it, but he got so caught up in the lies and the delusion that he actually started to believe this stuff himself, because he should know that's wrong. You can lie to people all you want, but when you start to believe it, your delusion is turned into insanity. All right, so where are we? Verse 17? Oh, verse 18, rather.
I'll bring it up.
So, like, I think what I did moved it off the screen.
No, that was me.
Oh, okay.
Verse 18. And he said, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, the master said, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples.
So this is just more concrete evidence that the Last Supper is the Passover. Mm-hmm. Instead of celebrating or on first Sunday taking communion, you should really be keeping the Passover, because that's a law, a statute, and a commandment. That's what we're going to continue to get into. Verse 19.
19. And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now, when the even was come, he sat down with the 12, and as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you.
So, Salaki, if you could read that one more time, because Christ is keeping this thing down to the T.
Come on.
To the T, verse 20, one more time, Salakia.
Now, when the even was come, he sat down with the 12, and as they did eat, he said,
could you?
And as he did eat, he said, verily I say unto you.
So I got a little distracted trying to get a message over, but it says, now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12 and they did eat. So we know the Passover, it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The first day starts at what? When the sun, at sundown. So now the even was come. So the sun went down and they began to eat. These are things that Christ kept everything. Yes, please. Christ kept everything down to the T. What does it say? Not one jot, not one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law.
Right.
It's even letting you know that Christ kept it as is. He didn't like, when are people having communion?
Slaki.
Communion is happening what time? During the daytime.
Yeah.
So you're not even waiting till sundown to pretend to have that token of bread. You can put it on this side if you could, sis. The water. Not that bread and that juice. We're gonna keep on. So you look like you got something.
I'm about to say something. You know what I mean? What you bring out is heavy. Because you know what I mean, Christians, they got this sacred practice, the communion, right?
Right.
They got it as, and they put it on the schedule. You know what I mean? So everybody knows that first Sunday, they're going to go to church and just like you were saying, and do their like daily repentance or their monthly repentance. You know what I mean? So they're taking away the purpose of it. You know what I mean? And once you put something on the schedule, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just something routinely you do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just lose the spirit behind it.
It absolutely is. It's less than a shell. And Salakia, Ace, if you can get Sister Kanai mic. It's less than a shell of what we should be doing. It would be like you're supposed to get, like, somebody just give me their favorite car real quick.
Mustang.
A Mustang. You're supposed to get a brand new 2025 Mustang. The Mustang, I don't know what they do nowadays, but a V8 is good.
Okay.
A V8 is good. You're supposed to get a Mustang with a V8. Whatever street racing tires you can. Everything is supposed to be on point with this Mustang. And then when they bring you what you're supposed to have, the car is literally a shell, a steering wheel, a seat, and you have to pedal it.
Exactly.
Like that has nothing even close to what you're supposed to get versus what you're getting. Go ahead, sis.
If I may, sir, it reminds me of back in the times when we would sacrifice and we would go sin again. Having communion every month is the same spirit of just not being held accountable.
Right, yeah.
And leaving and doing it all over again.
That is the Christian sacrifice. That's a good analogy right there. I like that. Round of applause for the sis. That's excellent. Most High in Christ. All right, let's continue. And Salakia, shout out to the chat. I'm gonna just shout out the chat real quick. Shalom Shamar done by Shemi Awashai. We got Sis Yakar in the chat, and we also got Shawan in the chat, and we also got Chrissy Judge. Shalom, good to see y'all. The water for tuning in. Let me go ahead and get that banner out. Kaash, you can continue to read. I should be able to put up the banner at the same time, right?
Khan. I already put that down. All right. Verse 21. Verily I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I?
So this is so the Lord knows that. What's his name?
It's Judas.
Judas is going to betray Christ.
Right.
But there are many Judases in the world.
Absolutely.
There are many people that are betraying Christ in this time, in this day right now.
Right.
And just a side note, Judas would be a perfect example of the opposite of brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look in the world today, what do they call it? Backdooring? When you backdoor somebody? There's a lot of people who they use a term which I hate. I hate this when they say this, when they say it be the closest ones to you. Mm-hmm. Really what it is, and this has nothing to do with Judas and Christ, but this just brings to mind, like, we have to start proving our friends. This is just a little side note. You have to prove your friends.
Right.
Commanding or Salakia, General Mahaiman broke it down heavy when he was like, you think that somebody's your friend just because you're smoking weed with them.
Damn.
Like, y'all get together, y'all get high, and you think that's your friend because y'all are smoking weed together. And the next thing you know, that person is sleeping with your baby mom. Damn. And then having your crib raided or having your crib robbed. It's because you didn't vet your friends.
Exactly.
It's because people don't follow the scriptures and they have no idea that when you're doing that type of stuff, you're betraying Christ, because Christ has asked us to treat people like we want to be treated. Mm-hmm. Christ has been asking us to follow the laws, the statutes, and commandments, and letting us know that there are two laws that all of the laws hang on.
Exactly.
Love God with all your heart, all your mind. I'm summarizing. And then love your brother as yourself. Uh-huh. So you wouldn't be backdooring somebody. You would be a good friend, but you still need to prove your friends. Salakia. All right. If you could.
Khan. Verse 23. And he answered and said, He that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goeth as it is written of him. But woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born.
That's a heavy statement. It would have been good for Judas not to even have been born.
Right.
Because whatever is coming to him as far as a punishment is going to be something more than that man wants to go through. Continue.
Right. Khan. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, Thou hast said.
Damn. He said, yeah, thou hast said. And think about all this stuff that's going on. Uh-huh. Number one, Christ is about to be put on a cross and have to take on a cup that is so heavy. No man wants to take this cup. But Christ has to go on that cross. And all of these things that are lining up would make somebody anxious, nervous, fearful. It's some people that will become, what is that term I'm looking for? A fugitive. Like, it's some people that would go on a run and you would never hear from them again if they had to go through this. He was tortured. Christ was put through worse than what a lot of people that are tortured by different governments that are called terrorists.
Right.
Christ went through something worse. And then we're deciding when we're Christians and even some fake Israelites, because there's even some fake Israelites where I've seen where the men are dressing like women, yet damn near, and it's a mix between, it looks like It looks like Christianity. It looks like Islam and a whole bunch of other stuff, fake Israelite. And the men got them tambourines in there, and the men have their head covered. They having birthday celebrations, but they're calling each other Israelites.
Right.
And then these people go and have communion and do these other things. And Christ went through all this, and we can't even keep the feast that Christ kept, because Christ kept it, even though I wouldn't even want to eat. I wouldn't even be ready to eat if I knew that somebody was about to unalive me on a cross and then nail my hands to it.
Right.
Not give me any water. Whip me. Because they whipped Christ, right?
God, they did all that.
Didn't they pull the hair out of his beard?
All that.
They hit him.
Facts.
They literally, shot dice, cast lots for his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go through all this, and then you going to eat a wafer and drink an ounce of grape juice and not keep any of the things that I asked you to keep? I would be like, to hell with that, man.
Uh-huh.
Christ is a far better man than me. Go ahead.
It's like, if I could, and you know what I mean? When you got to think about the mindset of Judas after Christ said that, where he looked Christ in his face and said, "Is it me?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to think.
You already did it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's a bold statement. You know what I mean? And also, why didn't the other disciples hear him when he answered that? You know what I mean? He did it in front of everybody. That's what I'm trying to figure out. You know what I mean? Was they all distracted trying to figure out who he was? Because I mean, him and Christ is like seeming like they having a one-on-one conversation. Right. I mean, it's like thou says.
There's a lot of different reasons why that possibly took place, and that's something that we can go over, in a different class. And I will, before I do that, I will get the general's breakdown on it, right? Because I don't want to input anything. But that's a heavy point. Like, what was the mindset, or where were the ears of the other disciples when that happened? Mm-hmm. But I digress. Verse 26. Bring my computer. You got a question, sis?
Oh, no. I was just thinking.
Matthew 26:26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat. This is my body."
So he took part of the Passover bread. So he didn't. So when we're thinking, if this is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, it's unleavened bread. It didn't rise. It doesn't have leaven in it. But when I was told about this, the way it was broke down to me, in my mind, I thought it was like a loaf of regular bread. I thought it was like in my mind, it's a sub sandwich roll that he's breaking into different pieces. But that's not what it is. If we just read the scriptures, we would know that. Salakia, Ace, can you get the mic for Sister Time? Because that is absolutely key, that we should be that's what this is about, scripture breakdown. There are classes that are in ISUBK that are online on YouTube that predate my time in the truth. And I wish I had known about this stuff and would have listened to it and used it in my life, because I'd be a lot farther in life than I am now. Mm-hmm. Like I would have a defense against a lot of things that, I went through in the world. If I had only known, if the pastor hadn't shut up the gates of heaven, exactly, for me and the people in the church. Go ahead, sis.
I was wondering, is it possible that the church knows that bread is unleavened, because the cracker is unleavened?
It is. So I believe that the Roman Catholic Church, mm-hmm, or people that actually gave slaves the understanding of communion, I believe they knew. But I believe that the actual, or the average Black, Hispanic, and Native American, mm-hmm, brother, I don't believe, or sister, I don't believe they know that. I believe that our oppressors know that, mm-hmm, because there's a lot of things that I'll hear the oppressors say, and I'll be like, well, damn, if you know that, then you should know this. Mm-hmm. You should know that we are the Jews, the biblical Jews. So I believe that Our enemies know, but I believe we don't.
Gotcha. Thank you. The
No
water, sir.
sweat. All right. Verse 27.
Khan. This is verse 27. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the wine until the day when I drink it new Slakia for the day until that damn I'm fucking up Slakia until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom.
So we could see that the fruit of the vine is wine. I just wanted that one little part, and it says henceforth. So that's again or after this. So we know some people don't even want to admit this. They just think Christ made it for the wedding, but Christ also drank wine.
Right.
Because if he's keeping the Passover and there's Passover wine there, and he's obliged to drink it because it's the law, you're supposed to drink. If you're of age, you're supposed to eat the Passover meal. You're supposed to, have wine with it. So we know that. That's another thing that I didn't understand in the Christian church. So let me see. Let me just read. There's one I want to read. Let me see. Let's go to the book of. I'll just get another precept. So if anybody wants, to prove that the communion comes from the Passover and it's illegitimate, here's another thing. This is the book of Luke, chapter 22, verse 13 through 14. And they went and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the hour was come, he sat down and the 12 apostles with him. So it's another, account in Luke. In verse 15 says, and he said unto them, with desire I have desire to eat the Passover with you before I suffer. So Christ had a desire to do that before he suffered. All right. Let me see. Let me go to, if I could, let me get Exodus 12 and 14, because the reason why Christ was perfect is because he followed the law. He was perfect in everything when it came to the Most High. Every single thing that the Most High asked him to do, Christ did. When it came to Christ being the best brother, the best healer, right, the every single facet of being a priest, Christ is the shining example. He is the star of Israel. He is the light of our people. And I just want to, break out Exodus 12 and 14, because this is the Old Testament. We just read Luke 22, 13 through 15, and Matthew chapter 20, most of chapter 26. And this is about the Passover in the New Testament. But here's the law on it, if you could.
Khan. Exodus 12 and 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations.
Our generations don't stop. They continue to go. As long as we are on earth having children, and then our children have children, and so on, our generations continue. Read.
Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
Forever does not stop.
All right.
So that even means when the kingdom of heaven is on earth, and then we have the biblical Jews ruling on this earth, that feast is still going to happen, but only this time we'll have a newer reason to keep the feast.
Exactly.
Because we will have been delivered from the land of the north, as it says in the scriptures. All right. If you could, let me get 1 Corinthians chapter 5, 7 through 8, because this is so Slakia. I'm saying too many numbers.
No, I got you.
All
I
right.
had it all.
Because this is after Christ died, and this is another follower of Christ. This is another priest telling us something about the Passover.
Khan. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened.
So, Salakia, purge out the out the old leaven. So this is something that is spiritual. This is something that is real. This is not a token. So you're having the Passover meal, but you're also supposed to not only have the Passover meal and remember that you're supposed to not that's what it's about, right? You're not supposed to have sin in your life. Continue.
That ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened.
You shall be born again. That's what this is about. So keeping the Passover has a lot of different facets about what the Most High wants us to get out of this. Taking communion, you don't get that from that. Continue.
For even Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven,
right?
Neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness.
So not with that sin, not with that old man. This is a spiritual thing. And communion, like I said, it doesn't give you that. Communion does not give you everything that it does. It doesn't give you anything. But Paul is literally giving you something of a spiritual breakdown. He's saying, purge that old sin out of your life. Mm-hmm. Paul is saying, become a new person, because the scriptures say you're supposed to be born again.
Right.
That's what it says. If you could read that from the top one more time.
Verse, it's like a verse 8. Therefore, let us keep the feast.
If you can start at 7.
Verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven,
right?
Neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
If I could. This is the book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 3, because I said be born again. That new lump is being born again. The book of John chapter 3 and 3 says, Yahushua answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of heaven, or Salaki, the kingdom of God. So Paul is breaking it down, and like, you don't go to communion and become a new person.
Not at all.
Like the sister had said, like, you're pretty much just making a sacrifice so you can sin again as a Christian. You don't become something new. You do the same thing over and over again, and you take a wafer and you take juice, and nothing new happens.
Not at all.
You don't get the understanding of the Passover. You don't do what Paul said you should continue to do. You don't follow in the footsteps of Christ, and you don't follow the commandment of the true and living God. If I could, let me get Exodus chapter 13 and verse 3. And let me see where I was going with this, because I wrote this verse down, but let me see. Because this was going to lead up to something. It was just going to give us more on, the importance of the Passover, the history of it, because we're coming into the Passover. The Passover this year, it falls on the 12th. And with the Passover falling on the 12th, there's not a set calendar day as far as what is this? This is the Gregorian calendar that we're on, Lord Show, right? We have the calendar as far as the moon. The moon is a calendar. That's what the moon is. The stars are to help you find your way when it's dark outside. It's like a map. It's like a map in the sky. But people worship these things because they don't understand what they are. The sun is worshipped by heathens. The moon is worshipped by heathens. The moon is literally something that you can look at and know what month it is.
Mm-hmm.
When it goes from a small little sliver to a full moon, you know where you're at. Go ahead, sis.
They say on average that
Salakia, if you could, I'm having young man, can you get the mic? The water.
They say that on average, the Gregorian calendar and the lunar calendar differ by like 11 or 12 days.
Right. I would have to look it up. I did a little bit of studying on it before I had came fully into the school, so I could be off. But when I was looking at what made more sense, it was like almost like 13 months, 28 days each. When I was looking at it, does that sound about right? It was looking like that when I was looking, because that made more sense for a calendar. But I'll get the full understanding. Don't take my quote on that, but that made more sense. The heathen came in and made the calendar after the name of, their gods, their days, the days after the gods. But the truth of the matter is, the Lord had already made the calendar, the moon, the way it was supposed to be, and it made more sense. The New Year's comes around the springtime. Life is happening. New things are being born. A lot of little baby animals are being born. In the wintertime, which is the heathen's New Year, things are dying. Things are going to sleep to protect themselves from the cold.
Shit's dead.
Yeah, things are being dormant. There's not really a lot of life. You notice when that spring starts coming around and that weather breaks, them ants start coming in your house. Oh, they alive and kicking. They looking for food. La? He said, not my house. Well, Salakia, because every so often them ants, they try to get in my house, but they end up unalived. They really do. And that's an analogy that I had thought of, because I had said this in a previous class, but this kind of relates to this lesson, because when you get these other ideologies, and then you teach it to your people, it's like a poison that you're bringing back to the congregation of your people.
Exactly.
When those ants come in the house, I put borax down. It tastes sweet. It's good. They think it's something good, and they think it's good to take back to their community. And then it wipes them all out.
That's tough.
So don't let people give you these ideologies of Planned Parenthood, of communion, of whatever else, other gods of Islam, because Allah and Yahweh are two different gods.
Exactly.
A lot of people just say that the different gods are just different ways people celebrate them, but he's the same thing. But that's not true. Our God tells us not to do certain things. Your God allows all types of abominations. You look like you was about to say something.
No, because what you bringing out is heavy. Because earlier today, I was talking to a friend of mine about this.
Right.
You know what I mean? About the zodiac signs, Allah, and things of that nature. You know what I mean? So I'm just reminiscing, because you bringing up some heavy points right now.
Right.
That's all.
And the zodiac signs relates to looking at the stars when they're just a map. Like, you're not going to be able to tell by my attitude when I was born, what day, because it's all about upbringing. And a lot of the way people act are just simply how they're feeling. Something as simple as somebody's diet could throw off their attitude. You mean to tell me you're going to look in the stars and the constellations and know that this person is a Gemini, a Pegasus? That's not one, is it? I'm messing. But you're not going to know what somebody is. You're not going to know. You're not going to know. All right. Exodus chapter 13 and 3. And I'm not going to give the famous line. We'll be wrapping up soon, because I have no idea when we'll be wrapping up.
Khan.
Could be today, could be tomorrow. We won't get through it. No, I'm playing.
Khan. Exodus 13 and verse 3. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt.
So this is their Exodus. This is when they had left Egypt. This is going to give you just a little bit of the history on the Passover. Continue.
Out of the house of bondage.
So we were in Egypt, out of the house of bondage. The name Egypt is synonymous with bondage. Right. The Lord delivered us from it, so we should remember that. So there's a lot of key points when it comes to the Passover, right? Mm-hmm. So while we're breaking down these scriptures, let's remember this. The Passover, Paul broke it down, and he said we become a new lump. So we become born again when we get that old leaven out of our life. Also, Christ died for our sins, so we are supposed to have the remissions of sins. We're supposed to stop sinning. And also the Most High delivered our people out of slavery, out of actual bondage. And there was one more, wasn't there one more point? We'll get back to it. No sweat.
One more point for what?
For the Passover. Because when we're looking over it, we're seeing that Paul's telling us to keep the feast because it's the law. That was the point. It's the law. All right. Let's go back to it. So we left off out of the house of bondage.
Out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand, the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten.
So we shouldn't be eating leavened bread because it's supposed to remind us that we didn't even have time to let the bread rise. We had to quickly get out of there. What's double time in Hebrew? Mahar. Yeah. We had to mahar up out of there. Go ahead.
The Bible says we ate it in haste, and we have to eat the food in haste.
Damn right. Right. If y'all couldn't hear the sister, she said the scriptures say we ate it in haste, which is exactly what we did. Verse 4.
It's like I'm doing my computer.
No sweat.
Verse 4. This day came ye out in the month Abib. Abib. And there shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey.
When I used to see all these names as a Christian, I would look and be like, yo, what is this? The parasites. Like, it was just too much. But when you start learning the scriptures, you start knowing who these people are. You start to realize who they are. That's not even a lie, because my rib used to see me in church when we was younger. I used to be knocked out. I used to be up in that balcony or in that back row. It was hot because they waited too late to turn on the AC, and I was gone because I stayed up late that night. I was doing, video games or doing something, but I'm living in my parents' house, so they want me to go to church. And I'm asleep. I'm not hearing anything.
The best rest.
But I was missing a lot of stuff that I didn't need to learn in the first place. I promise. A lot of people remember the hymns. They remember, a lot of the theology, and it got ingrained in them. I was asleep in there. I didn't know it was hot. It was hot. And then, when it's hot in church, people, I'm not even gonna go into that. About how people, for some reason, church had a lot of people with musty breath. I don't know why, but that's just the way it was. But I digress. Go ahead.
Oh, Slakia. Verse 5.
The little bagels in the corners were in there. Salakia.
And it shall be when the Lord shall bring, Slakia, the end of 5. Thou shalt keep this service in this month. Verse 6. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread.
So the feast of unleavened bread, we know the first day of the feast of unleavened bread is what?
The month of Abib.
The first day of the feast of unleavened bread is the
Passover.
Yes. Continue. No sweat.
And there shall no unleavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall thou be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters.
So this means that we can't have the unleavened, we can't have the leaven in our house. We're supposed to remember these. This is a memorial. We're bringing these things back to remembrance. You do none of these during communion. You got loaves of bread in your house. You got every single type of leavening agent you can imagine every single first Sunday that you take communion. Nothing is being done right. Go ahead, sis.
And then after first Sunday, it was the feast at the buffet.
Oh man. That's something else that I forgot. I would just wait for dinner. And then sometimes I would be thoroughly pissed off because we would have a guest pastor coming and speaking. We'd have to stay late at church. So we would eat. So they got the greens or the green beans, and then they got pork seasoning the meat. They got ham, all types of abominations while disregarding the Passover and having wafers of bread. And then some poor bastard that's not good at preaching coming over trying to get money. And I'm just sleeping even longer because I ate and I'm tired. Salakia.
Khan. Verse 9. And it shall be for a sign. Salakia. Verse 8. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt.
Right.
And there shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand have the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year.
Yo, forever. So we're going to move on because we talked about, so one of the things when we started, we were talking about where did the Last Supper come from, communion, this, that, and the fourth. So we broke it down as the Passover, right? The Passover is the reason why they do this, but they just didn't know it. At least I didn't. All right. So we're going to move on to, the mark of the beast. We'll talk about that just a little bit as well. And then we'll get ready to wrap it up. Because if you could get, let me see, if you can get Revelations 13 and 16. Go ahead.
I have a precept for communion before you move on to the...
Most certainly.
All right, Khan, Tawada, because this is something that I read when I was inside the Christian church.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm in 1 Corinthians 11. And we can jump down to 29. No, I don't want to... I know it's your class and everything.
No, you too wild.
All right, you know what I mean? 1 Corinthians 11 and 27. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord.
Right.
But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. You know what I mean? And so that's what happens inside the Christian church. You know what I mean? Because they're eating and drinking that the supposedly, you know what I mean, the body and the blood of Christ unworthily. You know what I mean? And if you read on, it says that for this cause many are weak and sickly among you, and many sleep. So you know what I mean? You get sick and you pass away. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, that is the results of doing that practice unworthily.
Unfortunately, Kaash is right on the money, because when you look in the church, there is a lot of people that are, dying before their time.
Right.
Whether it be diabetes, high blood pressure. Now it's becoming a lot of like different things like cancer. And that's one of the reasons, because our people don't have the wherewithal to get the truth about the Bible. That's a heavy point, Kaash. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the mark of the beast, because there's something, I don't know if y'all caught that, but there is something in the scriptures in Exodus 3 and 10 that is a precept to what we're about to read, right? So I asked, some people that are, Christians, what is the mark of the beast? And before I go into that, a lot of what we know about the mark of the beast in the world is either coming from movies or philosophy. It has nothing to do with the scriptures. Nothing at all. So at a certain point, people thought that a UPC code was the mark of the beast. Did you ever hear that?
A UPC code?
Yeah, the barcode.
Oh, the barcode. Yes.
Right. People thought that. A UPC code, the young man is, do you know what a UPC code is?
A barcode?
Do you know what a barcode is?
Yeah, like the things that you scan to buy stuff.
Right. Some people thought that was the mark of the beast. Some people thought the trackers, the trackers inside of cattle was the mark of the beast. Some people thought that microchips in people's hand was the mark of the beast. Some people thought that the vaccine was the mark of the beast.
Or 666.
Or 666. Like that was going to get tattooed on everybody's hand. And if you didn't have that on your forehead or your hand,
Or your head somewhere.
yeah, your forehead, right?
No, like in your hair.
Oh, wow.
In the movies, they had it in their hair.
So I asked a few people that were Christians what they thought the mark of the beast was. And till this day, the answers are this. So I asked 3 different people. One person didn't know. They had no idea what the mark of the beast was. Their exact answer was, you asking the wrong person. Another person said, it's a physical mark showing you belong to the beast, so you can eat or, buy, sell, whatever. And then another person had a more of a closer answer to what it was. And they said, a lot of things can be the mark of the beast. And it could be earning money the wrong way, this, that, and the fourth, yada, yada. But it went back to, kind of the standard thing of, Christianity, but it was more closer to what the scriptures say. So if I could, we'll get Revelations 13 and 16.
Con, I spoke to my brother about that too.
Oh, word.
And he said the mark of the beast was robots, like AI. You know what I mean? So it was going to end up. So the world was going to end like iRobot.
iRobot.
Yeah. So their shit was going to. They were going to get smart, take over the world, and make us slaves.
What did you wanted to read? All right, you got them. If you want to read, go ahead and grab the mic and move up. If I could just get Revelations 13 and 16. You can go to that side, the water. Yeah. Did you want to pull? Yes. Did you want to pull up a chair? All right, no sweat.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
Right. So it kind of specified there. It said the right hand in their foreheads. So the mark, Ace, what young man, Ace, what do you think that mark is?
Now I did hear y'all like saying it was like 666 and
No, but what do you think it is? The mark.
I say like KKK, like the Klans people.
You think the Klan people are the mark of the beast?
They definitely the beast.
Okay, I like that answer. All right. If you could, let me get Revelations 20 and 4. So I'm going to give you a precept on understanding what the mark of the beast is with a scripture, which is the opposite of the mark of the beast. You got it? Revelations 20 and 4. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them. Judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded. That's what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Beheaded?
Right.
Saki. All right. Beheaded for the witness of Jesus.
Right.
And for the word of God, in which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands.
Right.
And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
Right. So it's a lot of things to unpack in that verse, right? If you could, let me get that picture on the floor. Because what the young man just read gives you more insight. That's why the scriptures say precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. All right. So if we go to Revelations 20 and 4, all right, it says, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, which the world so ignorantly calls Jesus, and for the word of God. So there are people who were unalived because they worshiped the Most High and because they witnessed for Christ, and which had not worshiped the beast and had not worshiped neither his image. So what would be the image of the beast? I'm sure you know it because I had you handed to me, right? All right. If you could, Kaash, could you get me Revelations? Give me 1 second. All right. What is it?
Image of Christ?
Yeah, if you could.
I got you.
My mind escaped me.
1 and 13.
Yeah, I was about to say 13 and 1. But let's get that image of Christ real quick, because the image of the beast is something people don't understand. They just don't understand it, but there's a reason why you don't understand it.
Khan, this is Revelations chapter 1 and verse 12. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man,
right,
clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with the golden girdle. And his head and his hairs were white like wool.
All right, so let me start holding this thing up right here. So it said, first of all, this is not something that they mentioned, right?
Right.
Then when you see this is like almost like a Roman toga type of thing.
Yeah.
These hairs are not white.
Right.
They're like a brown. Continue.
As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
That's fierce.
Khan.
That is something that would be intimidating. This is soft. This is something that's meant to lure you in like a snake.
Yeah.
This is something that's meant to have sympathy and give you a mindset to continue to let a certain group of people hurt you that have enslaved your people for 400 to 500 years. Go ahead. You have something to say?
I was going to say, that picture is the God of the Christian church.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that represents oppression. That is oppression right there.
This is who you think of when you take communion. This is the reason why Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans would forgive their oppressor, but the Jewish man does not forgive their oppressor because they don't have reverence to this. They know this is a false image. Continue.
Khan. And his feet like unto fine brass.
Fine brass. Brass is a derivative of brown. If you look at brass, it's almost like a golden brown. Continue.
As if they burned in a furnace.
There's the other verses say polished fine brass. But if brass is burned in the furnace, that golden brown is going to be a darker color, a way darker color. If somebody's feet are brown, dark brown, is their face going to be white? Is Christ a collage of many colors?
Hell no.
Because nothing of what has been mentioned, there's not a girdle in this picture. There's not white hair. There's not dark skin.
Right.
Any more on that verse?
Khan. As if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
It's a soft voice going to come out of here.
Yep.
There is a soft voice that's going to come out of this mouth. This is the mark of the beast. Right here. When you have this in your mind to do the will of the oppressor, this is part of the reason. This is the image of the beast. This is the image of the beast. The scriptures said one thing, our oppressor did another. This is part of the Antichrist. Exactly. This is who in reality is Caesar Borgia. This was painted by, what was the famous painter's name?
I think
is it Leonardo da Vinci? Leonardo da Vinci. You see, when I start saying stuff like that, I start thinking of Ninja Turtles. That's what happens to me. I start thinking of Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, but Leonardo da Vinci painted this person. This person has rumored to have slept with their own sister. This person is a unaliver. This person lived a homosexual lifestyle. This is not our Christ, not my Jesus.
Not at all.
This is a different Jesus than what the scriptures talk about. This is the Antichrist. This is the mark of the beast. All right. Let me go ahead and get Exodus 13:9, because some people, it said a mark on your forehead and in your right hand in the scriptures. Let me get Exodus, because it's not a physical mark. We're going to break it down real quick. All right. Because this is the opposite. All right. So in Exodus 13:9, we can see the opposite. This is a precept.
Khan, the book of Exodus, chapter 13 and verse 9. And there shall be for a sign unto thee upon thy hand, for a memorial between thine eyes.
Can we get Salaki? We can start at verse 8.
Verse 8. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And there shall be for a sign unto thee upon thy hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes.
So doing the work of the Lord. So the Lord, this is an example of doing the work of the Lord. And then actually doing the will and what he wants you to do, and then keeping it. When you're doing the work of the Passover, that's the work that you're doing. That's your hand. That's the mark in your hand. When you believe in the Most High, and then you know that that's not the image, and then you have faith on Yahushua Mashiach, who the world so ignorantly called Jesus, that is having the mark in your head. The Lord isn't going to put a physical mark in your head, right? So we know the mark of the beast is not something physical. We know the image of the beast is the picture of Caesar Borgia, right? Where there's other scriptures that we can break down who this actually is. There's history behind it. Let's read that one more time.
Khan, Exodus 13 and verse 9. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, for a memorial between thine eyes.
Right, in your mind, on your forehead. That forehead is your mind. That's what that spiritually is. That's what that is. It has nothing to do with a physical mark. Continue.
For that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth.
Right.
For with a strong hand had the Lord brought thee out of Egypt.
So this is an example of the opposite. So the mark of the beast is being the type of person that does the will of Satan, that does the will of the oppressor. Having this image in your mind and worshiping this, that's the mark of the beast on your forehead.
Right.
When you do things like go against the Mexicans that are fleeing their country, and you help terrorize them like Donald Trump is doing, you got the mark of the beast. When you have a cross in your church with a skinny white Jesus on it, you're worshiping the image of the beast. That's what that is. We can have a whole nother class on it, but that's a simple breakdown. All right. And let me see. All right. I believe I'm going to stop there. So remember, when you're talking to people, remember these precepts. The Last Supper and communion, that comes from the Passover. The mark of the beast, that comes from this image right here, doing what the oppressor wants you to do, and also having in your mind. Like one of the things that always come to mind is people with this whole capitalistic mentality, right? Because for the love of money is the root of all evil. When you put money over everything, that's having the mark of the beast in your forehead. When you take that homosexual lifestyle on, that is the mark of the beast. There's one point I want to say, that whole buy and sell, That's talking about countries.
Yeah.
Countries are the one who take that buying and selling. That was talking about countries. Embargoes, sanctions. When Barack Obama put a sanction on an African country because they or an embargo on an African country because they wouldn't take on homosexual or make homosexuality legal, that's an example, a real world example of the mark of the beast. Barack Obama did that. I don't know. Did you know that? That's crazy. And Barack Obama is an actual African, and he did it to his own people for the oppressor. That has to hit home for y'all if you didn't know that. All right. But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the class over to Priest and Officer Kaash. Water for tuning in.
This is the ISUPK security announcements. Rules for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, they're to seek counsel from the heads. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3, 8 through 10. Ba'asher, which means a tenth in Hebrew, 10% of any increase of whatever the Lord gives you. Priest fund as a freewill offering for the priest is not mandatory. The Passover is coming up, April 12th. We just went over, you know what I mean? This is the greatest and most important holy day that the Israelites celebrate. You know what I mean? You have to be there in the land of Georgia. If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, if any brother wants to be a trooper, he needs all black everything. Not an inch of white should be shown on you. You know what I mean? Not on your headband, not on your pants. You need black boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. With that, Amajim, which means to stand. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak,
Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah Brakathum.
Yazmatah, hands down, star, return and face the sisters. Sisters, Amajim, which means to stand. We'll give a courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Shamar, Al-Thum, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Yazmatah, class dismissed. Yeah, buddy.